Welcome to Books and Things. Each week we come to you and bring you what I hope is better than last week, and at least as good. And today we're very fortunate to have Joanne Moore, Dr. Joanne Moore, who is a publisher, and she runs Pathfinder, which is a companion guide for the widow or widowers, and Journey, a digital magazine that is available at Pathfinder's Mag. And she's also written a book, After the Loss of a Spouse and What's Next. Mm-hmm. Wow. I looked at some of this book and I said, this is amazing.
Well, thank you very
Welcome,
much.
Joanne.
Thank you for having me, Tom. It's just a pleasure to be here.
It is. And after reading this book, this isn't a book, it's a manual.
Well, a manual is a good thing to have.
It is. It is. And if you have any questions, this is the book to go to.
Thank you so much. It doesn't have any answers in it, though. It's mostly a lot of questions.
Yeah.
You know, we're all so different. We come from different backgrounds. So how we handle a loss, whether it's the loss of a spouse or the loss of a child or a parent, depends on our cultural background, our faith background, our support system that we have in place right now. Very importantly, the relationship that we had with that person and the circumstances of their death. So there's no one book that's going to speak to each person and be thorough.
No, and so the thing that I got out of this is, what do you do?
That question is universal to all of us.
Yeah, what do you do now? And it's just...
The grieving process is pretty well supported by hospice and other books.
Yeah.
And I was doing okay with that. And then one day I noticed that there was a spring in my step again. And I said, well, now what do I do?
Yeah.
I know how to shuffle my gait. I know how to walk with my head down. I know how to feel sorry for myself. But right now, I'm feeling kind of springy. I'm coming back.
Yeah.
And what do I do?
And that's letting go of the grief. The grief suddenly goes away and you don't even notice.
I think that my grief is always going to be a thread in my fabric.
Well, yeah, it's always going to be there.
And that relationship was important, and it will always be a part of my foundation.
Sure.
It's kind of like being a teenager. It's great while you're there, but you turn 21 and you're not a teenager anymore.
No.
It's just another stage of life.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot of choices how you want to live it.
Yeah. And it's, I know it's like when I got separated from my exes. I have a terrible background. And you suddenly, what do you do now?
Right.
And I mean, they didn't die, but then I had to learn how to cook. When my son was 13 and my ex, we split up and he went with both of us. Mm-hmm. I found out that I couldn't feed this kid.
If I learned how to change the flush valve on a toilet, you can learn how to make an omelet.
I learned how to, I used to read a cookbook every night.
That's right.
And until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd read the cookbook. But those are things that you got to learn how to do.
I think you might be an overachiever, Tom.
Yeah, because I never cooked anything normal.
Uh-huh.
It was always spicy and garlicky, and I used to have Fugu Gourmet, and he loves garlic, and that was the food that I cooked. And,
Well, great.
But anyway, it's learning how to live again, differently.
A different way.
Yeah. I didn't have mommy to go to and feed me. And but like you say, little things like a checking account. There's bills.
Some people, many marriages divide up the work according to our talents, right? And your natural abilities. So it's normal for one person to do this part of the job and the other person to do other jobs. And that's kind of how we help each other. You know, at our wedding it said God wanted us to have a helpmate. And so we accept that help and it works.
Well, that's the thing. If you were both the same,
we'd only get half done.
Yeah.
But then over time, you've lost track of what they were doing.
Yeah.
You trusted them so much. And it could be something little, like Joe always changed the light bulbs. I never changed a light bulb for 37 years.
Yeah.
And after a while, the house was getting kind of dark. I said, what's wrong with this house? It's all dark.
Who's changing these things?
It's not that I couldn't.
Yeah.
It just didn't even cross my mind to do it.
Wow.
And so these little things that you notice, that you need to start thinking of everything. Did the refrigerator always make that sound?
Yeah.
What's
Oh, yeah.
and so then you get hyper vigilant. What have I forgotten?
Yeah.
And so you've got this level of anxiety that you just need to learn to calm down. When something needs to be done, you'll hear about it. But yeah, there is that level of competence and confidence in your competence that you need to achieve that does take some time. And it's okay to fail. You're going to find that failure's not fatal most of the time. If you make a mistake, people will help you out.
And there's always 211 you can call and get somebody to come do something.
Absolutely, absolutely. And our singles group at church has made up a list of people who can help us. So
that's
who's
a
a
good idea.
reputable plumber? Who's a reputable car repair person? So that we share these names, and that helps a lot.
That's a good idea.
It makes everything easier.
Yeah.
To have friends makes everything easier.
It does. It does. I moved into this senior building, and I was told, "Oh, these ladies will cook you dinner every night." Not once. So I learned how to cook.
Those days are gone, huh? Maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago, that would have been true.
Yeah, well, now that's not a problem. That's my only thing is cooking. And I really don't have time to go out in the kitchen and cook. Because I don't make time to do that.
Well, I spoke with Jacques Pepin about this, single men and cooking, and he said you can do a meal in the deli department. You go and you get your container, you walk around the salad bar, you go to the deli, you get some ham, you get a nice loaf of bread, and you've got a dinner.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, meanwhile, chat with everybody in the deli, chat with everybody in the produce department, have a little social event out of it.
That's a good idea.
And it works pretty well.
Yeah.
You can eat well and simply
Yeah.
and healthy.
I love to shop. I love to go grocery shopping. I make it a game. How much money can I save?
Well, that's a great game.
And so that's, I buy all the sale items, and I buy junk, because I know if I buy a bag of potato chips, they're gone.
Yeah.
So we don't do that.
Yeah.
But I think from a woman's point of view, and my experience, anything mechanical I took care of, anything in the house basically I took care of, and a lot of the bills paid, and where is the life insurance? Where's the auto insurance? Is it somebody paying for that?
But if you don't know how to do something, if you just try, you'll find that you probably can figure it out. The first time I installed a new printer to go with my computer, I was under there on the floor playing with the cables, and when it worked, I was so proud of myself.
Oh, sure.
And
Those
I
are
wouldn't have
little
even
things that-
tried it.
Yeah.
If Joe had been there, I wouldn't have even tried. I
Wouldn't have
said,
had
honey,
to.
it's broken.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Now you have a section in here called Hobbies.
I'm a big believer in hobbies.
Yeah.
I think it's great to have a creative outlet in your home.
Yeah.
Because one of the hardest things to do is to come home to a quiet house. But I think if you have a project that you're excited about, then being home isn't so depressing if you're alone.
No. And you have to get up. You have to have a reason to get up in the morning,
Yeah.
especially on the days off, the holidays. What am I going to get up for tomorrow morning? I'm going to sleep till noontime.
Yeah. So I invite people in the book to seek a hobby, to go to either a do-it-yourself store, like one of the hardware stores, or go to one of the craft stores, sewing stores, and just look at all the classes that they offer. And then if you see somebody shopping in a department that interests you, talk to that person and ask them, what are you building? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And they love to tell you what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And before you know it, they'll tell you about a class through the adult ed program that you can take on this, or that they offer things on YouTube. You can watch YouTube and learn how to do something. I'm learning how to make lampshade covers now, and that's kind of a new little hobby for me.
When you learn, come over to my house. I need 2 big ones.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's not difficult, and it's a beautiful product when you're done.
Yeah.
And you can change them with the seasons. So.
Well, people, when they retire, and it's basically the same thing, it's a new way of life,
Yeah.
is they suddenly find things that they always wanted to do, but never even tried. I got a friend that is a great artist, and he never tried painting. I wrote my first book when I retired. And
Congratulations.
And now I write them all the time. I write all the time. I never knew I could write.
Writing is a very important therapeutic tool, and even if no one else reads it, I have a journal where I write letters to Joe, and I tell him why I'm not doing what he told me to do, because I feel like I have to explain if I'm not doing it his way.
Yeah.
And so to me that's therapeutic because I explain it, and also writing helps with memories.
Yeah.
It helps you keep the memories, and it keeps you from living the memory over and over again. Because once you write it down, your brain can relax and forget it.
Yeah.
I think when you have a recurrent thought that we often have after a loss, the way to get rid of that recurrent thought is to write it down. Then your brain doesn't have to remember it anymore.
And the other thing with writing is, and I tell people, it's a measure of time, a measure of your depression. And if you write it down, I have, every year, I've written a memorial for my son in the newspaper. And I look at some of the early ones, I cry. And I think, wow, I was depressed. But to go back and then, because sometimes you don't notice that you've changed. And you go back and you go, that was me? It can't be possible. But like you say, you get involved with these different things and you do change.
It's change and it's growth.
Yes.
It's not that you don't care anymore.
No,
That's absolutely not true. But you grow and you learn from the difficult times.
Yeah. It can be a good thing to grow. It's just because you can't stand stagnant and think that your husband or wife is going to walk through the door and say, hey, I just had a little vacation. That's not going to happen. And that light bulb's not going to get changed.
Right, right.
But the hobbies are good.
The hobbies are great. And 2 hobbies, the writing and the painting, we're going to explore at a retreat on Saturday, April 30th in Stonington.
Labyrinth?
Yeah. There's a beautiful home in Stonington that we're going to use for a retreat, between 10 and 20 people. And we'll spend part of the day with writing activities and part of the day with art activities. And you don't need to be a writer or a painter to thoroughly enjoy this day. And then I'm passionate about labyrinth meditations because I don't sit still very well. And so you can walk and meditate at the same time in a labyrinth.
Really?
So this home has a labyrinth in the backyard that's a replica of the one at the Cathedral of Chartres outside of Paris. It's an 11th circuit labyrinth. And so that's Saturday, April 30th. And people can register for that by going to our website at widowedpathfinder.org.
And that's up there right now.
Okay.
And I did read that on your website, and I thought I'd like to go to that.
All the details are on it, and you'd be very welcome because it's for anyone who's had a loss of any kind. And then later, or just before that, the week before, up in Stowe, Vermont, we're having a full weekend at the Trapp Family Lodge.
Oh, really?
And that'll be kind of it'll have writing and painting, but also candle making and make your own book with s'mores around a campfire at night.
Ooh,
and an
like
outdoor
fun.
hot tub, memorial service in a stone chapel out in the woods on Sunday morning.
Oh, that sounds great.
And that's going to be fabulous too. So all that information is on our website.
Check it out because they do sound really good. And that labyrinth, I saw the picture of the building, and that's gorgeous.
I designed that labyrinth. I drew it out.
Did you?
And helped build it. I built one on the beach at McCook's in Niantic as well. It's there now, out of beach stones. So people can go anytime now and walk the labyrinth
Yeah.
at the beach. And I have a chapter on labyrinth meditations in the book.
I'll have to read that one because it'd be interesting. I don't meditate. I try not to think.
You can't help it. But actually, in meditation, you're not supposed to think.
Yeah. There was a lady in Mystic who used to have a labyrinth in her backyard. Mm-hmm. And they're interesting. Now, your Pathfinder.
Oh, this magazine, we started first before the books because I wanted things that were really timely. In a book, you can write about things that are always true. It's kind of like your wardrobe. You need your classic black dress that's always a standby.
Yeah.
But then you need the jazzy, new modern stuff, trendy stuff. So the magazine kind of has the trendy stuff in it.
Oh, okay.
It has things that are current, festivals that are happening now, things like Christmas gifts on a budget, how to travel by yourself, things that are coming up in New England in the near future that are nice to.
That's something I'm going to try to do is not traveling. I'd like to just tour Connecticut.
There's a lot of great stuff in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Gillette from Gillettes Castle, we featured last month in here because we always feature someone from history. And he lived in Gillettes Castle up on the Connecticut River, and he was widowed and he lived that way for about 30 years. He never remarried. He was really in love with his wife and never was interested in another woman. So going to Gillettes Castle is great. Mark Twain was widowed, so you can go to his home and see how he lived after the loss of his spouse.
Well, that's
You know,
cool.
sometimes we think we're the only one this has ever happened to, or that we're so unique, poor me. When the fact of the matter is, every happy marriage ends this way.
Yeah.
And whenever you go through history, you're going to bump into these people who have done interesting things.
Yeah, there is life after death.
Our life after their death.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now, where can we get the book?
The book is available on Amazon, but it's also at Bank Square Books in Mystic.
Okay. Get down there and see Annie and get a copy. Excellent, excellent reading, and give you some ideas of things that you can do and change your life a little, because you do the same old thing that you did before, and only now you're doing it alone. So try to get some new ideas. And you'd be surprised. You can bring home a lot of smiles
That's right.
and say, wow, it's not so bad.
That's right.
Nobody's meant to be alone.
It
I
says
don't
it in the
think.
first book of Genesis that it's not good for man to be alone, and that's how the whole thing started.
But I kind of like it sometimes.
There's nothing wrong with some downtime. I've been single 7 years, and it's fine. Every coin has two sides.
Absolutely.
There's advantages and disadvantages
Yeah.
to every stage of life.
Hermit is not a good thing. And I say I live alone. I do basically live alone, but I have a lot of friends and I have a lot of activity.
Yeah.
And without that
You're
stuff,
in community.
I have no idea what I would do if I didn't have it all.
You're in community, and my mother's best advice that she ever gave me, I think, was to enjoy each stage of life, because each stage has its advantages.
Absolutely.
And so find them.
Yeah. I even started singing a couple of years ago. I never thought I could. Was not a thought. And the magazine, how can we get the magazine?
Just log on to widowedpathfinder.com or pathfindermag.com. It's free online. You can just log on.
All right. And I did go on there, and we were talking about one of your articles on there, the Nancy Rupert. And now that was an interesting article, and she's an interesting lady.
How did you get to know her?
I used to sell janitorial supplies, and her husband was in a janitorial business. And so we became friends, and I also DJ'd, and she used to photograph.
Oh.
She was a photographer. So I got to know her through that, and of course I knew the two of them.
Yeah.
And many years. And she called me one day. Her husband called me. Said Nancy's got a book she wants to get published. And I said, okay. So I called her up and set her up in Connecticut Authors and Publishers Association. She got a hold of the publisher and go gorgeous book.
She's just one of many wonderful people I've met through this process. We've been doing this for 2 years now, and there's a lot of fabulous people out there
Yeah, that's true.
living really interesting lives after a loss.
Yeah.
And there's some people we have some cautionary tales as well. We featured a woman who gambled away all of her life insurance money, and it didn't take long.
No.
So we have some people who wish they could have a do-over as well. Not everyone.
Got to get married again and get.
And also, not everyone had a great relationship with the person who died, and that's another issue that takes some care.
Yeah, a friend of
because
mine's
you can't
husband.
undo it now.
A friend of mine's husband passed away, and I said, "That's too bad." And she says, "Well, he wasn't the guy that you thought he was."
Right.
I said, "Oh, okay." She sold the house and moved, and
Yeah.
and that happens.
And that happens. 50% of marriages are below average.
Yeah.
So
That's
So, like I said, as we began our discussion, there's no one right path for everyone. It's Pathfinder. We all have to find our own paths, but we don't have to do it alone.
No.
We can do it in community.
And this is the idea of your book, is that it gives you some ideas and guidelines to go with. And I think that is
And
tremendous.
find a community.
Yeah.
Find your own passion, what you love, what brings you joy,
Yeah.
and then find an environment that will nurture that growth
Yeah.
and that enjoyment of life.
And your life isn't the same. It changed.
At first, I was going to name it The Resilient Widow, and then I looked up the word resilient, and it said returning to its original shape after an impact.
Yeah. No.
We will never return to our original shape, and I don't think we should try to.
No.
And I think that that's why so many people struggle, because they're trying to get back to what they were, and that won't work anymore.
No. It's totally different.
We're going to be different, and that's okay.
And I tell people, because after the loss of my son, I say, your friend that lost a child or a husband or whatever, it's going to be different. They will come back, but it's going to be different. And you have to accept that. You have to accept that way they come out.
Right.
Because even your friends are going to be different. You're not going to hang around with the same friends.
A widow loses 75% of her friends in the first year, typically.
Yeah.
For lots of different reasons. It's our job to make other people feel comfortable around us.
Yeah.
We need to make the first move.
Yeah.
We can't sit in our house waiting for people to come and call, because they will once or twice, but eventually we need to remember their birthday and cut out an article that we think would interest them and send it in the mail to them saying, just thinking of you. We need to greet them with a smile when we see them in the grocery store and let them know that it's okay to talk to us again.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're uncomfortable, they don't know what to say, they're awkward, and they're busy.
Yeah, and it's not that they can't be bothered, but it's just they really don't know how to handle you.
They don't know what to say.
They can't invite you over for dinner because your husband's not there. And so,
But they do sometimes invite you out to dinner. So I remember going out with 3 other couples. We had always gone out together. And we sat at the table, and they set the table for 8, because they always set tables for an even number.
Yep.
And there sat that empty place for the entire meal, and everyone was paralyzed by it. It was up to me to say you can remove that place.
And the other thing is then you find out that the friends were your husband's friends and not yours.
Well, and that's natural.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're thinking all this time that, they're like the two of you, when actually it means more to his side than they did yours, and they're gone.
Well, that's probably more true after a divorce than a death. But
Well, yeah, definitely after divorce. I've lost so many friends. We got about 5
you
minutes
have not
left.
lost your sense of humor.
No,
and that's
no.
the important thing.
And I think the sense of humor and laughing is what helps you get through the day.
Exactly. We have a humor column in here every month. Because some things just are funny. Like my husband sang so far out of tune that it was embarrassing to the whole family. And so at his funeral service, my boys, who have beautiful voices, sang way out of tune. And I started laughing at his funeral because the boys were sounding like their father. There's humor in every situation, and you just have to find it.
Exactly. And a smile is so much easier to put on than a frown.
After a while, your brain will start to follow your facial
Yeah.
expressions.
Yeah.
So if you put it on, eventually your body will follow,
Yeah.
and you will feel better.
I know when I was going through my depression, my face was all wrinkled up, and my ex-girlfriend said, she said, "You look terrible." I said,
Yeah.
"I thought I looked pretty good." And of course, the wrinkles are all gone now. I've gotten all the stress out of my life.
There you go.
My mind just slipped. Oh, and you're also a physical therapist.
I am at Shoreline Physical Therapy in East Lyme. That's
Okay.
my full-time job.
That's
This-
what you really do.
I've been doing that for 42 years, and I love it.
Really?
And I learned a lot about loss from my patients.
I
That
bet.
they lost their ability to walk. They lost their physical prowess. They
Yeah.
lost their ability to do something that they love doing.
Wow.
And so how we deal with loss is a learned behavior. And I
Yeah.
learned from them, and now I'm trying to pass it on to make it a little easier for the next person.
Well, I like what you did here. I think this is
Thank you.
a tremendous book.
You know, I
And,
didn't say in the beginning that I want to offer my compassion to anybody who's watching, who's had a loss, that I'm truly sorry for their loss, and I
Yeah.
hope that they can find a community of people who care about them and
Yeah.
to not feel alone through this.
Yeah, and this, gosh, I went to a singles dance and there was 4 people sitting at the table. I was the only one who wasn't a widower.
Right.
And that's scary.
Right.
We got about 2 minutes left. And we mentioned the 2 retreats, April 30th in Stonington and April 22nd through the 24th at Stowe, Vermont.
Right.
And if you want to have any more information on that, you can go to the website or the email. And Joanne will be happy to answer you and let you know what's going on. Next week I have Tony Lombardo on. Tony is a vet and lives over in Pawcatuck, and he's also in charge of the veterans benefits. And he's going to come on and talk about the new benefits that are available. And so if you know a vet, make sure he watches, because we got a good program coming on for that. Tomorrow night we got fish and chips at the Pawcatuck VFW. If you haven't been, come on down, because they're great. And all proceeds go, of course, to the veterans building and a club. That's every Friday during Lent. In the last week, we served over 280 people. So we have a lot. Now, there's a senior discount from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. For past TV shows of this program, you can go to you find YouTube on sec-tv.org, and you can look for the YouTube button, press that, and then try to find books and things. There must be about 40 shows on there. As you know, I have a lot of guests on my show that try to help survivors of loved ones lost, and including Joanne today. And as of March 28th, I'm starting a program called Loved Ones Lost, and we'll be at the Groton Regency Center, and 6:30 in Groton. Come on in. We're going to have guest speakers. We're going to try to talk about ways to help you, such as this book, and different ways that help you out. See you then. Winter's still here. The nights are cold. Cuddle up with a good book. You should be reading. And I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much, Tom.